Chapter 32, The Big Brother Butcher. It's not easy to eat kosher. If not for the whopping 2 kosher meat stores in all of Westchester County, New York, or the Trader Joe's and Whole Foods in Danbury, Connecticut, Joshua would be screwed. But in all seriousness, Joshua was going weeks without kosher meat at a time, even months sometimes, because he felt like a total selfish slob for eating entire mounds of kosher fried chicken all by himself because everyone else in the house ate fish and veggies only. The main reason he refrained from making another overpriced $40 slab of scrumptious, well-marbled brisket and a homemade barbecue sauce in the Instant Pot was because Joshua wanted to do everything within his power to avoid hearing his wife utter with jealous-laced disgust, "Did you wash the cutting board with disinfectant?" Joshua claims she was jealous of his devour heavy kosher meat feast because she had nothing to do with giving him such wow-worthy pleasure. Joshua was following Ayn Rand's creed by no longer living to please others as much. Joshua realized relying on others, even loved ones, to give you sustainable pleasure was bound to result in crushing, let-down disappointment again and again. Granted, his 3 kids are perfect, who are only guilty of being too much into daddy, insisting on stroking his scratchy beard and taking one last whiff of his armpit before he tucked them in at night to determine if daddy was wearing deodorant or not. Obviously, Joshua had zero problem with his children manhandling him any chance they can get, especially in front of his wife, knowing how much approved do-it-all dads matter. His 3-year-old son Samuel loved to be hoisted up to their kitchen ceiling with his bum touching the ceiling so Joshua could say, "You want to be Spidey, baby?" After a double bath bomb special, 3-year-old Samuel would ask Daddy to wrap him up like a baby and carry him into the bedroom before giving him back-to-back-to-back elevator drops, where he'd pick him up with the towel wrapped around his back and drop him down on the bed to repeated shrieks of joy and endless more requests of "one more, Daddy," before baby Samuel would instruct his daddy, "Now tell Alexa to play No More, No More by Aerosmith, Dada. No more elevator drops. The last one almost shattered my teeth." But if Joshua had to endure his wife guilting his daughter into praising her brown poopy liquid-looking black bean soup one more time, he'd start sneaking in cut-off pieces of Hebrew National Franks into his kids' Heinz baked beans in a New York minute. Shopping at the kosher meat store with his dad in Yonkers, New York, and Central Avenue growing up was weird. The Hebrew lettering on the meat exuded a mystical, holy component to it, more in retrospect, since Joshua got closer to God and started to acknowledge his existence on a daily morning and before he went to sleep basis. But back sometime in the 1980s, the Hebrew lettering imprint on the sticker price tag on ground kosher meat designating its kosher meat status was just perceived as another unwelcome reminder of another boring slog through Hebrew school. Again, Joshua had a hard time getting excited about trips to the kosher butcher back then because he wasn't into cooking for himself or embracing making kosher fried chicken and $30 worth of peanut oil from the coronavirus-laden, now closed down Chinese grocery store within the derelict strip mall stretch 1 floor below the DMV in White Plains, New York. Joshua got a Ted Shummy with a butcher at the farmer's market by the Grove in West Hollywood back in the day in his early 20s after graduating Ithaca when he started making homemade meatballs based on the recipe from the Sopranos cookbook, a New York Times bestseller pre-fake news, when he actually read the paper of record on a religious basis to make him feel smarter and more informed in the process. After learning Walt Clyde Frazier read it religiously since he got drafted by the Knicks to expand his stupendous, ever-expansive vocabulary with such nimble, feline quickness. Joshua loved these meatballs because they combine ground veal, ground sirloin beef, and ground pinkish pork, back when eating some occasional pork didn't bother Joshua one bit, despite his rapidly developing fondness for thick, double-stacked turkey burgers from Astro Burger on Santa Monica Boulevard, slathered with mayo, shredded lettuce, and gooey slices of American cheese, draping the mouth-watering bomb burger throughout. Joshua even introduced the same butcher to his mother during one of her visits to the City of Angels, which were always nice. What's there not to like about LA, except brutal bumper-to-bumper traffic and Hollywood producers, studio heads, and directors given the green light to rape kid actors at will, Corey Haim's Gen X Dear Lost Boy included. Now Joshua was in Crown Heights, Brooklyn for the first time to meet Schmendel at his kosher butcher shop, which makes brisket heroes to go, which he was going to squirt his latest and greatest plant-based cheese was on for a taste test. Schmendel hugs it out with his brother, Butcher Jeremiah, from across the butcher counter. Jeremiah says, "Good to see you, brother. I got your 2 brisket bomb heroes to go, the best in Brooklyn, including Williamsburg. And I don't have to rely on melted hard provolone, which tastes better by itself cold anyway. Are you the do-it-all-dad hero guy my younger brother's been yapping about?" Joshua says, "In the flesh. You 2 are brothers?" Jeremiah says, "We pledged Zeta Beta. Can you tell? We figured our natural good looks and superior wit wasn't enough to guarantee us access to all the high-end puss Johns Hopkins University had to offer. I'm just playing. Johns Hopkins didn't have much scrumptious trim to inhale in the first place. Joshua says, do you mind if we squeeze some of your Big Brother's plant-based cheese whiz on top of your bomb brisket hero? I don't want to trigger any hardcore Orthodox Jews in the process. Would you mind making an announcement to your customers? We're not using actual cheese whiz. Jeremiah says, Big Brother, that's a good one. If he was the big brother and real next in line man of the family, he would have taken over Dad's kosher butcher business instead of me. Do you have any idea how long it takes to scrub the smell of kosher flank steak out of your hair? But don't worry about it, Joshua. Stop being such a worrisome neurotic Jew. Let's try this plant-based cheese whiz already. Joshua grabs the can of whiz from Schmendel and sprays it on his doodle dad hero and takes a bite. His eyes light up and says, fuck stand-up comedy and writing more books. I can't even get paid fucking reviews for my books because I violate so-called rules of hate speech for making jokes about the religion of peace and radical Muslim-loving virgins having enough blood on their hands already. This doodle dead hero is fucking delicious. Even Bill Maher would suck it down, given the option of going down on 2 black trannies first. Jeremiah the Butcher says, brother, Joshua is growing on me already.